Welcome to a deep dive into something that I think is on everyone's mind these days, AI. It's everywhere you turn, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And, there's all this excitement, but also a lot of fear mixed
All
in.
right, exactly. So today, we're going to try and cut through all that noise.
Yeah.
We'll be exploring Superagency, what could possibly go right with our AI future, by Reid Hoffman.
Oh, Hoffman, the LinkedIn guy.
Yeah, the LinkedIn co-founder, but he's also deeply involved in the AI world. We'll be looking at the book as summarized by Anil Nathu on his 1 Hour Guide website.
The 1 Hour Guide, great resource.
For sure. And Hoffman's take on AI, well, surprisingly optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, so much of what we hear about AI is kind of doom and gloom, isn't it? Robots taking over, that sort of thing.
Right. But Hoffman's argument, and this comes through really clearly in the 1 Hour Guide summary, is that we should be thinking about AI as a tool for amplifying human potential.
So not replacing us, but making us better.
Exactly. He calls this superagency.
Okay, I like that. Super agency. So how does that actually play out? What does that look like?
Well, think about it like this. Imagine a doctor using AI to analyze patient data.
Okay, yeah.
The AI might be able to spot patterns or anomalies that the doctor might miss, leading to a more accurate diagnosis.
Yeah.
But it's still the doctor who makes the treatment decisions.
So the AI is like a super-powered second opinion.
Right, a powerful assistant, but the human is still in control. The AI is augmenting human intelligence, not replacing it.
That makes sense. And it ties into another point the 1 Hour Guide summary highlights, permissionless innovation.
Yes, this is where things get a little controversial. Because a lot of folks, when they talk about AI safety, they talk about slowing things down, being cautious.
Right, pump the brakes.
But Hoffman actually seems to be advocating for the opposite.
More speed. Really?
It is. And there's a logic to it. Think about software. The more people use a piece of software, the more bugs get discovered and fixed. Hoffman thinks the same principle applies to AI. The faster we develop and deploy it, the quicker we'll find problems and solutions.
So faster development leads to safer AI.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
And it's a key point in the 1 Hour Guide summary. But it's not just about letting AI run wild, of course. Hoffman also talks about things like open research, shared safety standards, and adaptive regulation.
Guardrails.
Exactly, guardrails to make sure things don't go off the rails.
Makes sense. So we've got AI amplifying human ability. We've got this push for faster development. What else is in this 1 Hour Guide summary that we should be thinking about?
Well, there's this really interesting idea about the private commons.
Private commons. Okay, that sounds kind of contradictory.
Right, because so much of the conversation around AI
Yeah.
is about these big tech companies controlling everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But Hoffman seems to be suggesting a different model. He argues that while private companies will be the ones innovating, the benefits of that innovation should be shared broadly.
So more like open source software.
Exactly. Anyone can use it, contribute to it, benefit from it.
It's like democratizing access to AI.
That's the idea. He sees the private commons as a way to make sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Okay, so we've got this optimistic vision, but no one thinks AI is all sunshine and roses.
Right. There are definitely concerns.
What about things like job losses or AI being used for harmful purposes?
Oh, absolutely. Those are valid fears. And Hoffman doesn't ignore them. In fact, that's what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive. How do we deal with those potential risks, but without letting fear paralyze us?
Right, so stay tuned for that. But for now, if you want to dig a little deeper into the ideas we've talked about today, I'd highly recommend checking out the 1 Hour Guide summary of Superagency by Reid Hoffman on Anil Nathu's website.
It's a great starting point for anyone who wants to understand what all the fuss is about, and maybe even get a little excited about the possibilities.
So, picking up on this idea of AI safety, it's interesting because Hoffman actually sees innovation as a key part of making AI safer.
That does seem a little counterintuitive. You'd think more innovation, more powerful AI,
Yeah.
more risk.
Yeah, that's a common concern. But Hoffman argues that slowing down innovation might actually make things riskier. He uses this analogy of aviation. Like, if we'd frozen aircraft technology decades ago because we were afraid, we wouldn't have all the safety features we have today. It's the constant improvements that make flying safer.
So by pushing AI forward responsibly, we can actually find and fix problems faster. Is that what he's saying?
Exactly. And the 1 Hour Guide summary lays out 3 key pillars of safe innovation. First is faster progress means we identify those risks sooner. Like, imagine debugging software. The more people are using it, the faster you find the bugs, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the second pillar, the 1 Hour Guide says, is competition. How does competition make things safer?
Well, Hoffman believes that having a diverse ecosystem of AI developers, not just a few big companies, is crucial for safety. Competition encourages companies to prioritize security, reliability, making sure their AI systems are trustworthy.
So it's like a market force for safety. If a company's AI isn't trustworthy, people will just go with a competitor.
Exactly. And then the third pillar the 1 Hour Guide highlights is widespread adoption. The more people are actually using AI, the more it gets stress tested in real world scenarios. That helps us uncover vulnerabilities and improve those safety mechanisms.
So it's almost like crowdsourcing safety for AI.
Mm.
But even if we embrace innovation, we can't just let AI develop completely unchecked, right? There have to be some guardrails.
Absolutely. Hoffman addresses that directly. The 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu summarizes a few key steps he suggests.
Okay, like what? I'm curious to see how he balances this.
Well, first, he advocates for open research and shared safety standards. If companies are more transparent about their AI development process, especially when it comes to safety, the whole field benefits.
So instead of everyone working in isolation, they collaborate and learn from each other's mistakes.
Precisely. He also emphasizes the need for adaptive regulation, rules that evolve as the technology evolves, instead of trying to restrict it with outdated frameworks. I mean, trying to regulate AI with laws written for the telegraph, that wouldn't be very effective.
So flexibility, adaptation, that seems to be a major theme here.
It is. And finally, Hoffman is a big proponent of building AI that actively enhances human oversight. The safest AI isn't AI that makes all the decisions, but AI that helps humans make better decisions.
Makes sense. So instead of trying to create AI that's smarter than us, we should focus on AI that makes us smarter.
Exactly. And the 1 Hour Guide really drives this point home. It's about AI as an advisor, not a dictator. We need to understand how AI arrives at its decisions, be able to question its recommendations, and even override them when necessary.
So we've talked about this idea of AI as a partner, but the 1 Hour Guide summary also talks about Hoffman's vision of AI acting as a kind of informational GPS. What does that even mean?
It's a great analogy. Think about how GPS changed how we navigate the physical world. It takes all this information maps, traffic data, road closures, and distills it into clear, actionable directions.
So Hoffman sees AI doing the same thing for us in the information world.
Precisely. In this age of information overload, AI can help us filter out the noise, find the most relevant information, and even guide us toward better decisions.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. We've got AI, amplifying human ability, innovation driving safety, and AI as this guide in the information landscape. It almost paints this picture of a future where we're not just surviving alongside AI, but thriving with it.
And that's not all. The 1 Hour Guide summary also highlights another crucial aspect of Hoffman's vision. He talks about AI's impact on governance, law, even how we structure our societies.
Now that's where things get really interesting for me. We all know how slow and clunky government can be. So how can it possibly keep up with something as fast-changing as AI?
That's the challenge, and Hoffman addresses it head on. He uses this fascinating phrase, law is code. He argues that legal systems need to become as dynamic and adaptable as software to keep pace with AI.
Law is code. I love that. But how do we actually make that happen? I mean, laws aren't exactly written in Python.
No, but the principle is the same. Hoffman suggests that we should view laws as frameworks that can be constantly updated and adjusted, just like code.
So instead of passing these rigid laws that quickly become outdated, we need a more agile system that can adapt as AI evolves.
Exactly. And the 1 Hour Guide summary emphasizes this need for an iterative legal framework. Hoffman suggests that governments should create laws that are modular, meaning they can be easily adjusted based on real-world feedback. Kind of like Lego blocks, you can rearrange them as needed.
That's a good analogy. But even with an agile legal system, wouldn't there still be a risk of AI development outpacing our ability to regulate it?
It's a valid concern, and Hoffman doesn't dismiss it. But he believes that instead of trying to control AI with these rigid rules, we should focus on principles. Things like transparency, accountability, and human oversight.
So it's not about stopping AI, it's about steering it in the right direction.
Yes, and the 1 Hour Guide's summary of Superagency really hits this point home. It emphasizes that the focus should be on building AI that enhances human decision-making, not replacing it. AI should be a tool that helps us govern more effectively, not something that governs us.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. It's about creating a future where AI empowers individuals, businesses, even governments to make better decisions, work more efficiently, solve problems we couldn't solve before.
That's the essence of Hoffman's vision. But of course, there are still some potential risks and challenges to address.
Like what? What else does the one-hour guide point to?
Well, the next part delves into this fascinating concept of networked autonomy. It's about how AI can enhance both individual and collective decision making in this world that's increasingly interconnected.
That sounds fascinating, but maybe a little complicated. Should we save that for part 3 of our deep dive?
Sounds like a plan. We can unpack networked autonomy and all its implications in our next segment.
All right, so for now, let's remind our listeners that we're exploring these concepts based on a one-hour guide summary of Reid Hoffman's book, Superagency.
And if you're finding this deep dive insightful, be sure to visit the One Hour Guide website by Anil Nathu. There's a ton of great stuff there.
We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into superagency. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into this idea of networked autonomy. It's the last piece of the puzzle from the one-hour guide summary of superagency.
And it's a big one. This is where things get really interesting, I think.
Yeah, because it almost sounds like a contradiction, right? Networked and autonomous at the same time. How does that even work?
That's what's so fascinating about Hoffman's vision. He's saying that AI, if we use it right, can actually boost both our individual decision-making and our ability to make decisions as a group.
So it's not about AI taking over and making all the choices for us.
No, it's about AI giving us the information and the tools we need to make better choices, both on our own and as part of a team, a community, even a whole country.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. The one-hour guide summary talks about 3 ways AI can reshape autonomy. The first one is AI as this kind of personalized decision-making assistant.
Right. Think about all the choices we make every single day, big and small. What to eat, what career path to take, all of it. AI can help us sift through all the information out there, spot patterns, and make choices that are more in line with our own individual goals and needs.
So it's like having a super smart advisor always there to help you make sense of things.
Exactly. Always there in your pocket, ready with insights and recommendations.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second way AI can change autonomy, according to the one-hour guide.
This is about AI enabling decentralized collaboration. We're more connected than ever before, right? And AI can help groups of people, businesses, communities, even whole countries to work together more smoothly and efficiently.
So imagine teams scattered all over the world, working on a project together, using AI to share information, stay in sync, make decisions in real time.
Exactly. Breaking down those silos, improving communication, helping us achieve our goals faster and smarter.
That's a powerful idea. And the one-hour guide makes it clear that this doesn't mean we lose our individual autonomy in the process.
Right. It's about striking that balance. AI helps us work better together, but ultimately, the decisions are still being made by humans.
Got it. And what's the third way AI can reshape autonomy?
This is where it gets really exciting, I think. It's about AI bridging the gap between human and machine intelligence.
So it's not about choosing one or the other, but finding ways for them to work together.
Absolutely. Hoffman believes that the most powerful systems will be the ones that combine the best of both worlds. Human intuition, creativity, with AI's ability to crunch massive amounts of data and spot those hidden patterns.
So it's not about creating AI that's smarter than us, but about creating AI that makes us smarter. It's like that idea we talked about earlier. AI as an advisor, not a dictator.
Exactly. And the one-hour guide actually lays out some specific steps we can take to move toward this future of networked autonomy.
Like what?
Well, first, we need to design AI systems that amplify human decision-making, not replace it. So that means building AI that's transparent, explainable. We need to be able to see under the hood, understand how it's making its recommendations.
So not just blindly trusting the AI's output, but understanding the reasoning behind it.
Exactly. And we need to be able to override the AI if necessary. AI should empower us, not control us.
Okay, makes sense. What else?
Hoffman also talks about the importance of interoperability and transparency. For AI to truly work across different platforms, industries, even countries, things need to be open and interconnected, and we need to be able to see how these AI systems are making decisions, what data they're using, where there might be biases creeping in.
So an open, interconnected AI ecosystem that we can all trust and understand. That's the goal.
Precisely. And finally, Hoffman is a huge advocate for empowering individuals with AI literacy and control over their own data.
Meaning we need to educate people about how AI works, how to use it effectively, and how to protect their privacy in a world where AI is increasingly prevalent.
Exactly. If we want AI to enhance autonomy, not undermine it, we need to make sure everyone has the knowledge and the tools to use it responsibly.
Okay, so this vision of networked autonomy It sounds like a lot of work, but also incredibly promising. But are there any potential downsides?
There are, and the one-hour guide summary doesn't shy away from that.
Like what? What are some of the risks we need to be thinking about?
Well, one concern is that we could become over-reliant on AI. If we start to depend too much on AI for decision-making, we might lose some of our own critical thinking skills.
It's like using GPS all the time. Eventually, you forget how to read a map.
Exactly. There's also the potential for AI decision-making to become too centralized. Even though the goal is to empower individuals and groups, there's a risk that AI could end up concentrating power in the hands of a few big companies or governments.
So we need to be mindful of who controls the AI, who has access to the data, who benefits from its use.
Absolutely. Hoffman argues for things like promoting open source AI, encouraging competition, implementing regulations that prevent monopolies.
So making sure AI serves everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final chapter of Superagency, which the one-hour guide sums up as a call to action.
Okay, I'm all ears. What does Hoffman want us to do?
He believes the future of AI isn't something to be afraid of, but something we have the power to shape. It's up to all of us, individuals, businesses, governments, to decide what role AI will play in our lives and in our societies.
So it's not about passively waiting to see what happens. It's about actively creating the future we want.
Exactly. And the one-hour guide summary gives us some concrete steps we can take. We need to invest in AI education, encourage responsible innovation, and make sure ethical considerations are front and center at every stage of AI development.
Be informed, be proactive, make sure AI is a force for good in the world.
Precisely. And that brings us back full circle to this idea of superagency. Hoffman believes that AI has the potential to amplify human agency, to give us the tools and information we need to solve our biggest problems, make better choices, and create a world that's more just and equitable for everyone.
It's a powerful vision, and the One-Hour Guide by Anil Nathu does a fantastic job of breaking it all down into clear, actionable insights.
It really does. If you're at all curious about AI in the future, I highly recommend checking out the One-Hour Guide website. You'll find tons of great summaries and analyses there.
I second that. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into superagency. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, the future of AI is in our hands. Let's make sure we use it wisely.
Thank you for joining us today. Visit the One-Hour Guide website for more business insights by Anil Nathu.